Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at The Genie from Ancient Enemies by Dan DiDio, but an offering from Frank Miller Presents. It is such a great comic book. It is so much fun. I cannot wait to share it with you. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. So excitedly enough, Frank Miller Presents is the new comic book line featuring Frank Miller comics, Frank Miller inspired work, Frank Miller past works. You know, there's it launched with Ronin 2, the sequel to his amazing, groundbreaking, like American manga series. And then we are, being promised new Sin City. We have Pandora, the all young adults title, beautifully illustrated by Emma Kubert and co-written by Frank Miller, mostly written, I think. And, we haven't seen a ton of Frank Miller so far, but whatever, that's fine. It's coming. I feel it's coming. Ronin 2 was probably the best offering of that. But here we have, another part of the lineup, which is Dan DiDio's Ancient Enemies, the amazing superhero group comic book that is giving me everything I want in a superhero group. I love superhero teams so much. I am a huge fan of the X-Men, the Batman and the Outsiders, the New Mutants, the Teen Titans, Alpha Flight. I could just keep going on and on. I love team books, and Dan DiDio is giving us that right now. So bless him for that. So the interesting thing is he's introducing it with this epic, like 6-part miniseries, double-sized issues, beautifully illustrated by Danilo Bayluth. I'm sorry, weird name, but Danilo Bayluth. So he's also doing these one shots of the characters of the group, which I think is so smart, and I love this sort of like tactic. The characters are being introduced into the books, but then we're getting like, rather than like spend a lot of time or, taking away from the overall story that's going on through the epic miniseries, focusing on the origins of these characters. And that just kind of gave me an epiphany. I know, I'm sorry, I'm taking too long to get to this, but like I said, I think it's just smart. Like Dan DiDio comes from TV, and that's kind of in a way a TV approach. It's like do this great epic miniseries and then sort of do these like 2-hour movie specials based to give the audience a more in-depth introduction to the characters and show us where these characters came from, who they are about. We kind of know who they are. But this one was really fun, and I really like the backstory here. It's a very weird group of characters. They're called the Greater Good. They were spawned from this like alien invasion to sort of like rebuild the country after an alien attack, and it created this division between the gleaming new world and the old world. And this superhero group is sort of the government police of it all in a way. So I know like it's very high concept, but I appreciate that. There's a lot of world building, a word that Dan DiDio says he feels is a little overused and contrived, but I feel like it's kind of appropriate in this situation. And to hear Dan say that out of his own mouth, you can check out my exclusive interview with Dan DiDio, one of my favorite interviews. I thought, like, it was so well. I love interviewing comic creators, and, I mean, with his experience, and you talk about a humble human being, like, I feel like not only does he know what he's talking about, but he's also coming from a place of, like, experience, and, like, he sort of paid his dues, and, you know, I don't know. I really like him. And he's kind of polarizing, like a Jim Shooter kind of person, but he's just so freaking likable. And like I said, that's I feel that in a weird yin yang kind of way, that's his commonality, which I also appreciate in Jim Shooter, as controversial as he may be, is that you cannot deny his enthusiasm and love for comic books, and they're both really good writers, actually. Genie in a bottle. I mean, sometimes you do have to go for the low hanging fruit, and I am right there with you, Dan DiDio. I would totally take that title. So we have Ancient Enemies, the Genie. This is going to be the introduction to the Genie. The Genie, I'm so sorry. Or the Jinn, but there's an I at the end. I don't know. So Frank Miller, president and editor in chief. And Frank, I hope your silence is because you are strapped to a desk drawing Sin City Western that we all are being promised and need and love and are gagging over the previews. And plus, your little Frank did a 4-page story in Ancient Enemies issue 2. The Geek, I think is the character's name, and it is a freaking must see. Another thing, I'll put a link to that in this video as well. There's shit you need to be checking out from Frank Miller Presents because I feel like this has come onto the scene with a whisper, but it's giving away more of a bang. Like, I love this art. I feel like in a world where maybe Dan DiDio stayed at DC Comics, you know, like this is giving me what I feel like modern superhero comic books should look like. We talked about production and aesthetics, and I really like his choice and artists. And you know, he wanted a bright, super colorful superhero book, and I think that he's getting it here. You know, it's like normally I feel like in modern comic books, we might be getting like too much with this glow or like some sort of weird Photoshop, Procreate effect or something, but I think it is so well done here. Did we mention the creative team? I'm so sorry if I glazed over that. Story by Dan DiDio and Kevin Van Hook. Art by Jose Luis and Jonas Trinidad. Colors by Hi-Fi. Letters by Pete Carlson. And editor-in-chief Frank Miller. Like, we need Frank to be like Stanley doing Frank's soapbox. Like, Dan, like, bring me on as an editor. I'm not going to move to Florida, but I know what needs to happen. So, Frank's soapbox, you know, get the people hyped, get them involved, let people know Frank cares about this shit. But look at this art, it's so beautiful. I love these colors. There's like an epic, like I talked about world building, there's like an epic story going along. I love it. These like fishermen, like these feuding brothers. You know, one is greedy, one is altruist, but they like are both protectors of their village and their people. Not to be confused with the village people, but and then they discover this like crazy thing, and this is where he gets his powers, and he goes underwater and he like clings to this, but then somehow he fuses with the genie. Like, Dan DiDio, is this your like frickin' I Dream of Genie? It could be. It could be. And I'm not mad at that. I'm not. So, like, his brother sort of fuses with this genie, and they, like, I don't know, like, but his brother dies, but he's still here, and this genie becomes the hero of the village. But the, you know, the brother who could have cared less that he died is sort of like OC, and he's like reborn. And I'd be like, oh my god, that's so creepy. And they're like, he looks like the captain. Like, how did they know that? I don't know. He just has that look in his eye. I don't know. Like, he's going to say ahoy or something. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Suspension and disbelief, totally intact. I'm so here for this comic book. I love this. Despite any sarcastic criticism I may have made up to this point. Because, look, the art, and I feel this is consistent, too. You know, and I don't need it to be, because, you know, I love art. I'm so art focused, love art of all styles. And by the way, Frank Miller Presents, if you follow them on social media, is doing like a talent search right now. So I have a million artists for them if they want. Dan, you know my number. But aside from that, aspiring artists, like, if you're looking for like you know, something like a grand opportunity, it would not hurt to, you know, submit your stuff to them and do the best freaking job you can, because like, look at this. This is what you have to aspire to, you know what I mean? And this feels like really great. Like, the storytelling is great. The aesthetic looks good. I enjoy this art very much. I do. So I don't know. So this guy, you know, he grows up in this village as this village person with these like but he's sort of like the fetus of this genie. But you know, something clearly more is happening here because there's like all these genie jars being dropped in the ocean, and like this is just one. So what happened to the rest of them? Like that could be cataclysmic, right? Don't you think? Dan DiDio. Like way to plant those seeds. Like this could like frickin' be epic or keep going for years if you wanted to. And like that's smart. You know what I mean? I'm also kind of curious. Like, I feel like what else did I read? But there's like co-writers happening here, and I'm just like, is that you know? And once again, speaking to Dan's, what do you call it? You know, history and television. You know, you would work with like a team of writers producing each episode or whatever, and there'd be main writers and stuff like that. So that kind of is a smart way to work. You know what I mean? This is not, you know, this also what I like about this. Like I said, if you were getting, oh, and I have to point out the beauty of this reverse silhouette here, because if you watch my channel, and I know you do, because like if you're probably only watching this because you watch my channel, but I love a silhouette, and I didn't know how much I would love it, but I freaking love a reverse silhouette. That is freaking gorgeous. So there is just a lot. This is dense. This is calculated. This is thought out. There is world building. Once again, this is it. You know what I mean? This is like I feel like this will benefit well from a trade paperback because, you know, in bits and pieces, it's sort of like, oh, wow, what's happening here? But I do feel there is a greater good at the end of the day, and we will see that. And I trust in Dan DiDio to make this all happen and amazing, and I'm totally along for the ride. If nothing else, for this like gorgeous introduction to these hot new artists who are so amazing. But aside from that, it is very well written. It entertains. It holds up. It is quality comics, and I very much look forward to seeing what comes from Frank Miller Presents. Ronin 2 is definitely a standout. Layouts by Miller, finishes by Tan, screens by Daniel Enriquez. A beautiful book. Frickin' Ancient Enemies #3 coming soon in March. Oh, it is March. Is it March? I guess it is March. But I do love this cover, so I'm guessing like next week. It has to be next week. So look forward to that. If you have not subscribed to my channel, fools, do it now. Hit the notifications so we can follow up with our review on Ancient Enemies #3. I really like this. I think this character is great. There is like a reason why he's wearing this t-shirt, and I just like the attention to detail like that. I think that this is a good book. I feel like Frank Miller Presents is falling under the radar. And if you guys like this book and support it, or if you haven't given it its proper due, then give it a chance because it is so good and I love it. And I look forward to see what else is coming down the line. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Hit like.